It must be said that the Jeep brand in Russia has always not been very lucky with officialdom. Frequent changes in representing organizations, strange confusion in the company itself, friendship first with the Germans, now with the Italians. And of course, the lack of truly premium models and the high cost of those that were relevant drove the brand under the market plinth with sales of a couple of thousand cars a year. And in 2006, our hero appeared on the scene. Prices for it were announced only a year later, and, I must say, they alienated many fans because they were incredibly overpriced, especially against the backdrop of the American market, where at that time the most affordable JK of the X series, which was sold even without air conditioning, could be bought for about $21,000. And then there's the design, which, although it retained family features, looked somehow disproportionate after the elegant TJ. In addition, the JK was 300 kilograms heavier than its predecessor. It is noteworthy that a 5-door version appeared right at the start, or 4-door according to the American tradition. It was a good move. The popularity of the long Wrangler was able to restore faith in the model and brand, and the Rubicon version in the world of people as such. True, there were some shortcomings, but, as you know, Jeepers are not only quick-witted people, but also handy, so many problems were solved by converting them into all-metal options. Yes, I'm talking about an openable stabilizer. Initially, the Wrangler JK was sold with a 3.8-liter gasoline engine with 202 horsepower. This is a very reliable and durable unit, which is well known from other Chrysler Jeep models. In 2012, it was replaced with a more powerful and economical 3.6-liter V6 Pentastar, which, by the way, was a copy of the Mercedes M276, which made it possible, if necessary, to access the services of a 3-beam star. Behind this motor for quite a long time there were several problems associated with oil leakage. That is, there was one problem, but an attempt to solve it could lead to others. So, during the warranty repair of the current oil cooler, official services changed it with the oil filter housing and gaskets. If at the same time the intake manifold gaskets are not replaced, and it is impossible to remove the filtration system and the cooler without removing the manifold, then with a sharp increase in speed, say, during overtaking, the flow will begin from under it. And because of this, in turn, hydraulic lifters suddenly die, more often on the right side. By the way, the gasket costs about 3,000 rubles. In 2016, the warranty program changed a bit, and now not only the cooler, but also the seals of the resonant chambers, as it is officially called, are subject to replacement. So when buying a used Jeep, you can ask the owner if it was/was not. If the case turns out to be out of warranty, and the trouble with the leak repeats, the oil cooler itself will cost about 40,000 rubles, a set of gaskets, about 3,000, and everything else needed for replacement, under 20,000. Well, how lucky. A characteristic sign of a renewed leak, even a slight one, will be smudges visible only on the lift at the junction of the box and the engine. Oddly enough, changing the engine oil to a thicker one, say, from 5W30 to 5W40, can completely eliminate the leak. It's not so much needed on the Pentastar, 5.7 liters. Since 2014, the oil cooler has been replaced and there are fewer problems. By the way, troubles are also associated with oil in a diesel engine. On heavy fuel, under the hood of the Jeep Wrangler JK, the Italian unit RA428 DOHC is working, in the American version of the Index, 2.8 CRD. Fans of the brand know this engine well. Its previous version was installed on the Jeep Library, KJ/Cherokee. Compared to it, the 2.8 CDR has become more powerful, 177 horsepower, but due to the new piezoelectric injectors, a new intake manifold, an electric turbine valve and other improvements, its efficiency remained at the same level. In 2012, the power was raised to 200 horsepower, in addition to oil leakage, a particulate filter can become a problem. Filling it with bad diesel fuel is, in general, a trifling matter, and a replacement costs 90,000 rubles. The first sign that something is wrong with it is a sharply increased consumption. In the city it can reach up to 20 liters. And it's diesel. Then smoke and the corresponding mark on the instrument panel. The good news is that cars officially went to Russia without a filter and, accordingly, with other engine settings. Normal fuel consumption in the city usually does not exceed 13 liters in winter and 11.5 in summer, on a 2-door. The motor is quiet and perfectly balanced, although the fact that it is a diesel is always obvious. At the same time, the owners, not burdened with excessive environmental conscience, quickly remove the EGR, and the oil is changed every 10,000 kilometers, and not 20, as the manufacturer recommends. If we add to this the replacement of the fuel filter hanging under the threshold, then the nozzles cannot be changed. Each of them costs about 14,000 rubles. Vulnerable to contamination and the boost pressure sensor and mass airflow. Take it out and clean it with a special solution, a matter of 5 minutes. Silencing the EGR slightly reduces the frequency of this operation. If you notice oil in the intake manifold or intercooler, pay attention to its level. Do not add to the maximum. About 5 millimeters above the minimum is optimal, otherwise it will still go into the collector. In wet weather, after puddles and fords, the indicator of the sensor for the presence of water in the fuel may light up, just like that, without any visible moisture. Removing the terminal and turning the sensor out does not help. It goes away on its own. Not so long ago, the American owners of the Wrangler JK made a petition about the sand in the engine. The fact is that all Pentastar blocks after 2012 were made by casting in sand, which was not washed well after the procedure. We only heard about this, but no one got to the repair. The talk of the town was the detachable front anti-roll bar of the Rubicon version. Mechanism with servo drive and control via a common CAN bus. Water penetrates through the glands, which sometimes does not even know where it comes from. Perhaps it is condensate. Contact is lost. This affects the entire bus, and further events cannot be predicted. The car may stall, it may not start, the wipers may not work, or something else. Cleaning, blowing, and watering with WD-40 rarely helps. Radically, the issue is solved by replacing the stabilizer with the tuning one with manually opened rods, about $100. At the same time, it is easiest to tighten the wires under the hood and wrap them well with electrical tape, and remove the bulb of the inoperative circuit breaker so as not to annoy. In general, there are various solutions, including replacing the drive of the mechanism with a manual cable, with the preservation of mechanics, without preservation, replacement under warranty with a similar one, just a replacement. The entire mechanism assembled at the dealer is an amount that I will not even dare to name. Let's say, for you can find it on eBay for $900 and on Mopar online parts for $1,028. Well, yeah, anti-roll bar. On regular versions, Dana 30 axles were installed in front, and Dana 35 with a gear ratio of 3.73 in the back. On the Rubicon, of course, bulletproof Dana 44s with locks and a 4.1 gear. Ball joints do not last long and may require replacement after 30 to 50,000, and wearing out, sometimes, only on one side. Crosses have become better lately, even on 30s. The front cardan is weak and does not like rubber more than 35 inches. Everything else is like everyone else. Shock absorbers, unless, of course, you jump with a pallet of bricks in the trunk, will go through 50,000, springs under 150. The rubber bands of the trailing arms cannot be called consumables, the levers themselves too. Everything is simple, condo and quite reliable. Of the 4 boxes that were put on the Wrangler 2007 to 2017, I would prefer the W5A580, that is, in fact, the Mercedes 5G Tronic, which was equipped with Pentastar petrol cars from 2011 and diesel cars after 2012. A trouble-free unit equipped with a manual shift system and a self-learning function that adapts to the driving style. It is important to monitor the oil level, and if the box starts to kick when switching, even barely noticeable, the first thing to check is the oil level. Often adding half a liter eliminates kicks. With other boxes, be it 42 RLE or 545 RFE, there are more problems due to age. They have no special congenital sores, but there is wear and tear. In any case, these transmissions, although not young, are very hardy, and they are not sold very expensive at the disassembly. The only manual gearbox NSG 370 represents a mechanical alternative. Its main advantage is that the transmission is 6-speed and saves 1.5 liters of fuel on long runs. The box, of course, is a Stuttgart design, and the owners of Mercedes delivery vans never complained about it. The gear ratio of the first is 4.459, the sixth is 0.838. It is important to remember that this box has bronze synchronizers, and ordinary gear oil will not work with it. To extend the life of the transmission, I highly recommend filling in a special oil with the Chrysler specification MS9224 and better synthetic. A 946 milliliters jar from Mopar costs about 1,600 rubles. With transfer boxes, too, everything is simple. If the version is not Rubicon, then the MP231J transfer case with the chain and a step-down 2.77, 3 modes of operation, familiar to the owners of the Cherokee XJ. If Rubicon, then NV241 or with the 4.0 lowering. Also 3 modes. It is also undesirable to use it on a hard surface, but it's impossible at all on a dry one. It also hangs too low, and even mandatory protection. The chain sometimes stretches and can slip, but it will happen it's not soon. Salon Wrangler is quite narrow, but quite comfortable. On the second row of the long version, 3 people can fit. In 2012, the interior was redesigned, but, according to some Jeepers, although they did it beautifully, the quality of materials and workmanship has noticeably sagged. The light causes a removable roof, removable doors, arches, and wind in the face. Replacing a plastic roof on a 4-door car costs almost 300,000 rubles. An awning can be bought for 70,000. The best soft roofs are made by Bestop, which Mopar itself sells through its network. And then there are half doors without frames or even crossbars instead of a door. All sorts of bikini tops that cover only the sky. In general, as far as the process of getting positive emotions is concerned, here the Wrangler is really out of competition. But the main thing, in my opinion, is that the Jeep Wrangler JK is not that expensive in the secondary market. No, really, $1.5 million for a 4-door Rubicon against $1 million for a Patriot. And let it have some problems, but it's a Jeep. He is so alone.